We're going to talk about commission shifts and the impact to the seller and the buyer. As you may or may not already know, there is a recent change in the commission structure recommended by the National Association of Realtors. Basically, a lot of news talking about the seller does no longer have to pay for buyer agent commission. The seller cost gonna be even less, and the buyer cost is even more. So today I am going to deep dive into the commission shift, commission change recently, and the impact, the detailed impact of the seller and the buyer with that change. With that, let's dive into the situation. So first of all, I just want to make sure that everyone understanding the current commission structure as of now, and then I'm gonna talk about the change later on. So as of today, for example, if the homeowner has a house and she's thinking about selling the house, what is she gonna do? She's gonna contact one agent or couple agents to interview the best person to list their homes for sale on the market, right? And then a part of the negotiation between the homeowner and the listing agent and potential listing agents, they are going to talk about the asking price of the home. They're going to talk about the commission as well, right? These are the two most important. Most of the time, there's a lot of negotiation back and forth between the seller and the homeowners and the listing agents to come up with the reasonable asking price and to come up with the reasonable amount of commission based on the service that the listing agent have. And at the end of the contract, at the end of the meeting, they normally sign a contract, allow the listing agent to start market the property. Okay. So that's the regular structure. That's the current. So that's the first half of the current commission structure. All right. So after the listing agent have the contract, okay, he then will list the property for sale on the market. Okay. Then he's going to list the property for sale on the market, and as part of the listing on the market, he's going to post on to MLS. Okay, so again, this is right now the current commission structure, and I'm going to go over the new commission structure in a minute after talking about it, because I just want to provide a basic understanding. Some of you may already know, some of you may not, and what the change, right? So let's say in this situation, they list the house for sale, and the listing agent was able to negotiate with the seller to list the house at 6% commission. So we're talking about at $500,000, the commission for the listing agent is $30,000. Okay. Now, as part of putting on MLS, he also gonna advertise the 3% for buyer agent commission as well. In other words, he say MLS. By the way, MLS, for those of you who are not familiar, those are the multiple listing service. Basically, when the agent posts on the website on the MLS, it's gonna be distributed to a lot of other websites like Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, any sites of any agents that you know, right? So that's the reason why they use MLS, because MLS provide a very good service for the agent, make it appear more on the market. Okay. So as part of using the MLS, he also gonna advertise, hey agents, if you have a buyer, I'm more than willing to share the 6% with me. And no, it could be equal, it could be not, right? I'm not saying this is one number, one size fit all, right? But I'm saying that in general, it would be divided half, and the buyer agent gonna get 3% from the 6% originally the listing agent negotiated with the seller. Okay, and therefore the commission for the listing agent is only 3%. Okay, now then if there is a buyer agent and the buyer looking for a home, if they come to an agreement to go under contract, now then the 3% go towards the buyer agent. All right, so that is a part of the I'm sorry, I cover the picture and you probably cannot see anything. Okay, so that is a part of the lawsuit, because some of the seller claiming that, why do I have to pay the 3% here for the buyer agent commission? right? I'm not going to go too much detail on the lawsuit, right? There's a lot of information on that on Google. For the scope of this video, I'm not going to talk about the detail and how we win and the reason why behind the scene of those things, right? So basically, the seller claiming that they don't have to pay the buyer agent's commission. And as part of that, it's a very long lawsuit as well. It's more than almost 2 years already. And now the National Association of the Realtor, okay, all the realtor belong to an association. All the realtor belong to an association, and the national, which oversee all the smaller associations for each states, right? Come to an agreement with the plaintiff, in this case is DOJ, to say that now with the new commission structure, or should I say proposed, okay? The reason why I say proposed is that because this is not final approved yet by the court, okay? But this is coming from the NAR, the defendant in this situation. So most likely, if not, the new commission structure going to be applied very soon, okay? I'll talk about that when it is applied also later on, okay? So the proposed MOS is no advertise for the buyer agent commission on MLS. All right, there's no longer the 3%, there's no longer 2.5%, there's no longer 1% on MLS anymore for the buyer agent commission. So you might have asked, so where is the buyer agent get paid? Or whether the listing agent still have the 6% or not, right? So the question, there's a lot of unknown there with the new proposal, right? The reason the claiming that the seller pay less is because the listing agent now no longer charge of the be able to do the 6%, maybe only 3%, because he doesn't have to share with the buyer agent anymore, right? And as for the buyer, that's gonna be, how can the buyer agents get paid? So basically, the idea of the new commission structure is that the buyer agent now, before going under contract with any property, right, she has to negotiate with the listing agents for the share of the listing agent commission. Okay, if the listing agent have 6, perhaps that's going to be another 3 share. If the listing agent have only 3, then it may be 1.5 each side. I doubt it could be a fair share. The listing agent may say no as well, right? Because the listing agent only won 3%, full 3%. Or in some situation, the listing agent have only 2, then how can he share, right? So that is the one part of this decouple, the word they use, decouple the commission from MOS. The proposed commission structure is the negotiation, number one, negotiation between the buyer and the listing agent, buyer agent and the listing agent. Number 2 is the negotiation also happening between the buyer agent and the buyer as well. And this is the more important part to a lot of consumer, to a lot of home buyer in today's market. You know why? Because normally, like you remember, the current commission structure, the buyer does never have to negotiate, talk to the buyer agents about how much they have to pay for the buyer agent. But now the conversation is actually encouraged to be taken place, so that the buyer agent can get paid for the service and the amount of work that they do for the buyer. Okay, so what are some situation could happen? For example, number 1, right? For example, the homeowner is still willing to pay the 3% for the listing agent and the 3% for the buyer agent, then the buyer don't have to pay anything. Or if the seller only want to pay for the listing agent, then the seller doesn't have to pay for the buyer agent 0%, and therefore the buyer has to pay a full percent, 3%. Now, big disclaimer, okay? All the number here that I use in the video is mainly for illustration purpose only, okay? It's not final number. It's not always happening in this number, right? But it's just for the purpose of example, okay? And then, it could be the seller is willing to pay for the buyer agent 1.5%, and the buyer going to pay the other 1%, right? if the buyer agent is okay with the 2.5%. At the end of the day, negotiate. Negotiate is term that now moving forward is going to be happening between the buyer agents and the buyer. That is the new structure. That is the new proposed commission structure going on. Because technically, the list between the listing agent and the seller already have a negotiation happening at the beginning of the contract, right? At the beginning of the listing. Now, it's encouraged, the new commission structure encourage more negotiation between the buyer's agents and the buyer in today's market, rather than just the buyer just take an easy path, just work with the buyer agents and no longer obligated to work with them when they find another agent, like a family member or a friend that they would rather to work with later on after all the amount of work, right? So that's the reason why it's now more negotiation between the two parties, between the buyer agents and the buyer. Negotiate. Now, that means the buyer cost can increase for sure, and the seller cost may decrease for sure. But but the good thing is that it's not gonna be happening until July of 2024. So there's about 4 months to prepare for everything. I'm sure that there's gonna be a lot of new things happening in the next couple of weeks. But right now, all the realtors are aware of the situation. In fact, we received actually 3 emails, not just one, 3 emails. One from the National Association of Realtors. Number 2 is from the local association, from the state association, and from also the brokerage as well. So that's actually 4 for some of the agents, right? So we always are already aware of the situation. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of negotiation happening for the next couple, a lot of things that happen for the next couple of weeks to prepare for this change bit. Okay, now some of the suggestion for the investor buyers: be prepared. All right, be prepared for the next change. This is the biggest change for the real estate industry for the last, oh my God, how many years? This is considered a very big change. Now, this is not new though, because it's actually in the commercial world, okay, the seller, some of the case, most of the time, they don't have to pay for the buyer agent neither. So this is not new. This is actually already happening. It's just not a common thing in the residential side, okay? So investor buyer, be careful. You have to reevaluate all the procedure, all the process that you have in place, so that you can compensate your buyer agent appropriately in the situation that the buyer agents cannot negotiate for their commission with the listing agent and the seller. Okay, for the seller. Okay, so for investor seller, I just want to clarify one thing is that this doesn't mean, this new change of commission structure doesn't always mean that your closing cost is cheaper, right? It doesn't mean that you're always going to receive a higher money. It could end up that you receive, for example, if you are not willing to pay the commission to the buyer agent, the buyer might have to take that into account of their offer, and therefore they're going to offer less than what the original intention of the offer to. So there's a lot of things going on, still new to this whole thing change, right? My suggestion for the investor is that have a discussion strategy with the listing agent that you are going to hire. Look at your home situation to see how can you make that happen to your listing. Okay, what is the reasonable offer that you can do for the buyer agent? Okay, and now rather than just blithely say no, maybe we have to look at the situation one by one. Okay, because sometimes it may be better if you offer some of the agent commission, so that you're going to attract more agent, right? For example, maybe you, instead of the reason why I say that is that if you don't offer it, maybe the buyer gonna have difficult time to buy your house, and then you end up cannot offer offer the house to them because the buyer, as a first time home buyer, they don't have a lot of cash capital to pay for the buyer agent, right? So you may or may not end up with a situation that you are difficult to sell if you don't offer it. Then I was encouraged to discuss with the listing agents about the situation to see whether it makes sense to offer or not. Or at the end of the day, like I said, negotiation is the key. Right now, that is the number one encouragement with this change, right? They want to make sure that the buyer agent has a chance to negotiate with the buyer, with the listing agent, with the seller, rather than just blindly the seller has to pay both sides. Okay, negotiation is going to create more active market. Okay, more people are going to be involved in the process and more. So we watch out for the new thing coming up. However, though, be careful and discuss more with the agents on your side and to come up with the best game plan for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. If you do have any questions regarding the presentation today, regarding the commission change, feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to share that with you.